Why do you always feel broke even though you technically have money? Before you blame your morning coffee habit or that subscription you forgot to cancel, there's something way more interesting happening in your brain that controls every dollar you spend. And today, we're diving into 3 spending habits that separate people who feel financially stressed from those who feel financially free, backed by some seriously fascinating behavioral finance research. Here's the thing about money psychology. Your brain wasn't designed for modern spending. It evolved when resources were scarce, threats were immediate, and planning ahead meant remembering where you buried your leftover mammoth meat. Now we're asking that same ancient brain to navigate credit cards, impulse buying, and something called behavioral economics. No wonder we're all confused. The first habit that changes everything is what researchers call temporal reframing. Sounds fancy, but it's actually simple. Most people think about money in the moment. This purchase, right now, today. Smart spenders think about money in patterns over time. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Meet David, a 28-year-old marketing coordinator in Chicago. Every Tuesday, David walks past the same coffee shop on his way to work. That vanilla latte costs $6.50, and David's brain does what most brains do. It thinks about whether he can afford $6.50 right now. His checking account says yes, so he buys it. 52 weeks later, David has spent over $300 on Tuesday lattes alone, and he has no idea why his savings account looks so sad. His brain never connected those individual $6 decisions to the bigger financial picture. Now let's look at how this plays out on a completely different scale. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,000. When people ask him why he doesn't upgrade to something more luxurious, he explains it using temporal reframing. He doesn't see a mansion as costing $5 million today. He sees it as costing potentially $50 million in opportunity cost over 20 years, because that money could be invested and growing instead. Buffett's brain automatically thinks in patterns and long-term consequences, not just immediate purchases. Both David and Buffett are dealing with the same psychological challenge. How do you make spending decisions that align with your future self's best interests? The difference is temporal perspective. The second habit involves something behavioral economists call mental accounting, and it's probably messing with your money more than you realize. Your brain naturally creates different mental buckets for money, depending on where it comes from and what it's for. But smart spenders hack this system, instead of being controlled by it. Here's how mental accounting usually sabotages people. Sarah works in retail management and just got her tax refund, $800. Even though she's been stressed about her credit card balance for months, that tax refund feels like found money, like winning the lottery. So instead of paying down debt, she books a weekend trip to Nashville because it's tax refund money, not real money. Meanwhile, she'll spend the next 6 weeks agonizing over whether she can afford a $40 dinner with friends using her regular paycheck money. Same money, different mental bucket, completely different spending behavior. Now let's see how someone famous navigates mental accounting. Oprah Winfrey talks openly about growing up with scarcity and how it affected her relationship with money, even after becoming incredibly wealthy. She describes having to consciously restructure her mental money categories. Instead of having guilt money and splurge money and investment money all fighting each other, she created what she calls aligned spending buckets: money for generosity, money for growth, money for joy, and money for security. Each category has intention behind it, and she moves money between them deliberately, rather than letting her subconscious emotions decide where dollars go. Both Sarah and Oprah are dealing with the same mental challenge. How do you make conscious decisions about money instead of letting arbitrary psychological categories control your choices? The difference is intentional design versus emotional reaction. The third habit is the most counterintuitive, and it involves something researchers call the paradox of choice. Most people think more options lead to better decisions. Smart spenders know that more options often lead to decision paralysis and regret, So they build what I call decision architecture into their financial lives. Let me show you how this works with regular people first. Marcus is a software developer who is constantly stressed about lunch. Not because he couldn't afford lunch, but because he spent 15 minutes every day scrolling through delivery apps, comparing prices and reviews, wondering if he was making the right choice, and then feeling buyer's remorse no matter what he picked. That 15 minutes of mental energy, multiplied by 5 days a week, was draining his decision-making capacity for actually important financial choices. So Marcus did something that seemed weird to his friends. He picked 3 lunch places, assigned them to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and decided to eat leftovers on Tuesday and Thursday. Suddenly, his lunch decisions required zero mental energy, and he found himself making much better choices about bigger financial decisions because his brain wasn't exhausted from daily food analysis. Now let's look at how a celebrity handles choice overload. Steve Jobs was famous for wearing essentially the same outfit every day: black turtleneck, jeans, sneakers. People thought it was a quirky personal brand thing, but Jobs explained it differently. He said he didn't want to waste mental energy on clothing decisions because he needed that cognitive capacity for running Apple. This is decision architecture at work, reducing low-stakes choices so you can focus on high-stakes choices. Jobs applied this same principle to his finances, automating as many money decisions as possible so he could focus his attention on business strategy rather than whether to buy the premium or regular gas. Both Marcus and Jobs recognize something most people miss. Your brain has limited decision-making energy each day, and every choice you make depletes that energy. Smart spenders protect their mental resources for decisions that actually matter. Here's what's really fascinating about these 3 habits. They're not about restricting yourself or following some complicated budget system. They're about understanding how your brain works and designing your environment to work with your psychology instead of against it. Temporal reframing helps you connect present decisions to future outcomes. Mental accounting lets you spend intentionally instead of emotionally. Decision architecture preserves your cognitive energy for choices that actually impact your life. Together, they create what researchers call financial flow state, where money decisions feel natural and aligned instead of stressful and conflicted. The research backs this up in interesting ways. Studies show that people who use temporal reframing save an average of 23% more than people who don't. People who restructure their mental accounting report 40% less financial stress. And people who build decision architecture into their spending routines make fewer impulse purchases and have higher satisfaction with their financial choices. But here's the part that most personal finance advice gets wrong. These aren't willpower strategies, they're design strategies. You're not trying to become a different person with superhuman self-control. You're just setting up systems that make smart spending easier than dumb spending. This connects to something bigger happening in our culture right now. We live in a world designed to capture your attention and your money at every moment. Every app notification, every targeted ad, every limited time offer is engineered by teams of behavioral scientists to override your rational decision-making. Fighting this with willpower alone is like trying to swim upstream in a hurricane. But when you understand the psychology behind spending, you can design your own systems that work in your favor. Your money move for this week is something I call the future receipt exercise. And it's weird, but surprisingly effective. For the next 7 days before making any purchase over $20, write yourself a receipt from 1 year in the future, not for the purchase, but for what that money could have become if you invested it instead. So if you're about to spend $60 on something, write a receipt that says, "Received from stock market $72, because that's roughly what $60 becomes in a year with average market returns. Keep these future receipts in your wallet next to your real receipts for a week. This isn't about never spending money or feeling guilty about purchases. It's about training your brain to automatically think in temporal patterns. After a week, you'll notice your spending decisions start to feel different because you've literally rewired how your brain processes the cost of things. You'll start seeing money as potential instead of just currency, and that shift in perspective changes everything about how you relate to financial choices. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. And awareness combined with smart systems is how you stop feeling broke even when you have money. So the next time you catch yourself wondering why you feel broke even when you're not, remember, it's not about income, it's about insight. David, Sarah, Marcus, they all had the same brain wiring you do. They just learned to see money through a wider lens. Buffett reframed time, Oprah redesigned her buckets, Jobs simplified his choices. Different lives, same principle. They built systems that worked with their psychology instead of against it. You don't need more willpower. You need awareness, design, and a few habits that protect your future self from your present impulses. That's what real financial freedom feels like. Not richer, but lighter. If this shifted how you see money, keep going. Click the next video and keep building your own money mindset system. Because once you understand how your brain spends, you can finally decide how your life earns.